This is the podcast Your Spiritual Shift with hosts Jennifer Matthews and Carl Gruber. Your Spiritual Shift podcast. It's a show based on their online program of the same name. That's where Carl and Jen guide you to remember and implement into your daily life the truth about who you really are, a child of all that is, your source. We invite you to join Jen and Carl for each and every episode as they explore in depth the teachings and principles of true non-dualistic spirituality and their practical application. You can live your life without the ego's lack, attack, judgment, and guilt and thoughts of sin, and replace them with truth, unconditional love, innocence, pure joy, abundance, and a unity of purpose. Now, here's Jennifer Matthews and Carl Gruber with Your Spiritual Shift.
All right, welcome friends. Yes, it's time for another awesome episode of Your Spiritual Shift podcast with your hosts, me, Carl Gruber, and Jennifer Matthews. Your Spiritual Shift is where Australia and the United States meet the master spiritual and metaphysical teachers throughout the world and bring them to you right here on this show. Jen and I have fun, we laugh, we have a good time, and allow you to get to know our featured guests on a personal and intimate basis as we go deep into discussion and debate on all things spiritual and metaphysical to show you how you can live a more enlightened and happier life. Now, before we head on into today's show, please take a moment to click the subscribe button below and also share the link to the show with your friends. Now, here's Jennifer Matthews to introduce our featured guest today.
Oh, well, thanks, Carl. Hey there, spiritual shifters. So glad to have you with us for another incredible episode. And boy, have we got a treat for you today. So today we have our special guest, Steve Nobel, and he goes by everything that Carl and I are about, reaching for the stars, finding our enlightenment path to 5D. What is 5D? The fifth dimension is a place where we leave our egoic world of lack, attack, judgment, and war behind and join in with unity of unconditional love, truth, and eternal joy and happiness. Steve Nobel is dedicated his life to energy healers, light workers, starseeds, and anyone who is now going through the ascension process. He has developed a healing system called the Soul Matrix for Starseeds and has a website called the Soul Matrix. Plus, Steve is the author of 6 books, including The Spiritual Entrepreneur, which we have to go through. And he's from London, England, and it is beautiful and sunny there today, I see, Steve. We welcome Steve Nobel. Hey, Steve, how are you going today?
Very good, very good. Actually, I moved out of London. I'm down by the sea.
Oh,
I've
beautiful.
gone right south, out of the big smoke. So I got out 5 years ago.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. And I bet it's beautiful nice down there.
Yeah, it's very sunny, very nice. I had a nice walk along the seafront, and the sea's sparkly, and boats are out, and a few people swimming crazily this weather because in England it's really cold, you know. But I've got friends who do the Wim Hof method, to go and dive in Christmas Day, and I think it's, are you mad? I can't even do a cold shower.
Well, in Australia, as you probably know, the weather is quite hot, and so when I lived in Germany for 2 years. And when I first moved to Germany, which is, of course, cold and wet and all of that, there were people that are out sunbaking in about 12 degrees Celsius, 10 to 12 degrees Celsius in their bikinis. And I'm looking at them and I'm all rugged up and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So it's quite an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, and I read this morning, just before coming on, that a great white shark was spotted off the coast here.
Oh.
And I'm like, that's another reason not to go bathing in the cold weather.
Well,
apparently they spotted that fin.
Oh, really?
Out at sea, yeah.
Wow, cool.
Well, I'd love to ask you, we've been studying and looking at your soul matrix that you teach, your website and everything. And, all I can say is, Steve, you're a human being here incarnated in density and form. How did you tune into all of this enlightening material, such as being star seeds existing in the fifth dimension, transformation of Earth from 3D to 5D? How did you come about this?
Well, to backtrack a bit, I was a director of a spiritual organization for 13 years in London, based in the church. And every week we'd have talks and workshops. And I heard lots of channels and lots of people talking, and people talking about the 2012 trigger, the They didn't talk about as a trigger point, but it was at the 2012 point. And we had a few people talking about starseeds and ascension. And to be honest, I wasn't sure if it was resonating with me or not. I was very much into practical spirituality. But then I had a dark night of the soul, which lasted 6 years, which was very deep and very dark. And it was, I mean, really, I wasn't sure I'd survive it, because it was really a couple of times looking down the River Thames, thinking it's easier for me to jump in, and it's so painful being in that dark night. Anyway, the dark night ended after 6 years, and I woke up one morning and I got this voice, because in the dark night there's a disconnection, there's no intuition, none of my usual, connecting with angels. And for 6 years there was none of that. And then a voice said to me, right, welcome back, time to talk about starseeds and ascension and start teaching it. And I did not want to hear that voice. It was not the voice. Is like, I wanted, welcome, glad you're out of it, now let's have some fun. It was no, now get to work. And I thought, I meditated for 2 weeks thinking, well, I don't know if I know enough about this. I don't know if I really even believed in it. But I decided to say yes, because I think resistance is futile. And I started, and people just started clamoring. And in the beginning, I think I was kind of winging it. In England, they say winging it. I didn't think I knew enough, but I started to download stuff, and transmissions were coming. And, now I think I'm more along the path. I have a deeper idea. But the early days, it was really like, well, I'll say yes, but I don't know if really I know what I'm doing. But I have a kind of more of a handle now. I think just saying yes to it puts you on a fast track, really.
Absolutely. So for those that don't actually understand what we're talking about when we talk about starseeds or light workers or anything like that, can you go a little bit into what a starseed is and how it differs from that of a light worker?
Well, the basic premise would be that the soul is multidimensional, meaning that we live many lifetimes in many dimensions. This is just one dimension. In fact, this is just one dimension of Earth. There are many dimensions of Earth. There are other dimensions of existence. There are other star systems that starseeds in their soul's journey have passed through. And then there's the kind of call for service, like, hey, Earth's in trouble. Yeah. Anybody want to go down there? And, being incredibly stupid or brave or whatever it is, we said yes. And it means kind of stepping down in density, because starseeds are naturally of a higher frequency. The places they're in are higher frequency civilizations. So coming to this place, it's been hard. And a lot of starseeds find it hard because it's dense and difficult and heavy. And they have things like war and conflict and empire building and narcissists, which kind of don't really exist in the higher planes. And so we're having to get used to all that again. And coming here, starseeds coming here, we still come out the birth canal, we all come out the birth canal, and we're asleep and we have to wake up. But as the light is increasing on the planet, more and more beings are popping out the womb, more awakened, I feel. I'm meeting more kids who are more awakened. For example, when I was at school, I had to study to pass my exams. A lot of these kids just download it. They just kind of download. I mean, how they do it, but I kind of have an idea because I download stuff myself. But there's a different intelligence for these new kids coming in. Starseeds are here really to anchor a new light in their physical body and auric field on the Earth, because without that, starseeds are a kind of light virus coming into the dark and breaking open the dark by going into it and bringing a new light. It has to be done that way, apparently, because the dark has to be broken from the inside out. All these old systems have to be broken down from the inside out. And a lot of starseeds are incarnating into dense families. My family is pretty dense, really. And it's difficult at the beginning until you start waking up and learning how to transform energy. Then it all becomes a lot easier. But until you do that, living in a dense family, dense bloodline, dense 3D culture can be difficult.
Yeah. Was that
the question on starseeds and light workers? A light worker is really a starseed who's not really woken up to their starseed nature. They're like into the light, into manifesting, into all of that. But other planets, maybe it's a bit too far for their mind to go at this point.
So would you say that starseeds would, in that case, would they be natural empaths then?
Yeah. Starseeds are all natural empaths. So the qualities of a starseed is sensitivity, intuition, drawn to futuristic stuff often. You know, when I was a kid, I was drawn to Doctor Who.
I love Doctor Who. Yeah,
Who.
I love Doctor Who.
I remember the first episode of Doctor Who. So Doctor Who, Star Trek, you know, all of it. Bewitched was one when I was young.
Yeah, me
Bewitched,
too.
all of these magical, and then Harry Potter, all of these kind of magical stuff. I was reading superhero comics. I was just drawn to the futuristic, the superhero. I was considered very weird by my family.
Okay. What were you wanting to say, Carl?
Well, I was just wondering, I know you had a long career in nonprofit before this all, you changed paths. Was that 6 years, Dark Night of the Soul, was that the impetus to have you leave? I think it was in 2012 you left that nonprofit career and came to do what you're doing now?
So the Dark Night of the Soul kicked off in 2010. So just before I left the alternatives, not-for-profit. And I clung on because it was not easy going through a dark night and being a director of an organization, spiritual organization. I clung on for a while and then I had to resign. I left on the winter solstice 2012. And then I had another 4 years of it. Let me see, I came out, I came out sort of 2015. It was a long time. So I left the organization because of the Dark Night, and then leaving the organization, it was almost like I left all my anchors, all my friends, all my soul family, my long-term partner left. So all of my anchors left. It was the most incredibly difficult thing, I think. I don't want to do it again. If they say, Spirit says, do you want to do another Dark Night? I'm like, no, thank you. That was really, I couldn't meditate. I couldn't do anything.
No, I've been through that as well, and it's not a nice experience, but I do think that it is something we have to do in order to be able to ascend, in order to be able to get to another place, to another dimension. And you know, it's not pleasant, but you know, when you're somebody that is a natural meditator, when you're somebody that is naturally connected, then all of a sudden you don't feel connected at all. It's scary. It's a scary place to be. So I was very happy once I came out of it too. Now, when it comes to Starseeds, I had my Akashic records read probably might have been 6 months ago, 9 months ago, something like that. And what she was telling me was that I was actually from a combination of Mintaka and I think I'm not sure whether it was a Pleiadian or something like that. Now, is that what would be classified as a starseed? Is somebody that sort of comes down from the other planets and they're here to help to shed the light to the humanity?
Starseeds are wanderer souls, which means that no two starseeds have gone through the same path. So all starseeds have a primary connection, which might be Sirius, Andromeda, Pleiades, Vega. There is primary homes, which will give a starseed a certain set of interests or a certain set of skills. But we've been through many civilizations, so we're wanderer souls. I feel a connection to the Pleiades. I feel a very strong connection to Sirius and Arcturus, particularly, and also Lyra. And in my line of work, all of these beings kind of come in. I have a love affair for a week. I get this download, I put it out, and then they disappear.
Yeah.
You know, although I do have a set of guides which kind of hang around me permanently, and otherwise I kind of go, hey, I've just been getting to know you. Where are you going? Come back. You know, go on. But then they kind of going, with job done, goodbye. You know, we're off and
time to move on to the next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what I was reading when I was reading up on Starseeds and trying to learn a bit more about it, and they said one of the characteristics of it too, like you said, you've got the sensitivity, you've got the empathy, you've got the sometimes you can feel a bit lost in where you are. And I noticed that, you know, when you look in the sky and you look at all the different planets and all the different stars and in our solar system, sometimes you can have a real connection to them. And there's certain stars up there that I just look at and I just feel like this pulling. It's just like it's a really strange experience. And so I was reading and they were saying that can often be a sign as to, you know, your original planet or whatever it is. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I was always looking at the stars. I'd just stand there looking at the stars and just be fascinated with them and wonder about how many civilizations are out there, and also things like, where does the universe end, which is one of those questions that the mind can't possibly work out. One of the qualities I didn't mention was this feeling which you mentioned, kind of feeling lost. It's more feeling of not belonging.
Yes.
Not belonging in the family, not belonging in the corporate world, not belonging in the BS, whatever's going off in the world. There's a looking at the world, especially when starseeds awaken, that there's something deeply wrong in the world. And it's a bit like the Matrix, where he says, you know, that you're looking at the world and you know there's something wrong, like a splinter in your mind. Do you remember that Morpheus kind of saying to Neo?
Yeah.
There is this thing, there's something not right, but we don't know what it is, and we don't know the solution completely because we're not that awakened to go, there's a better way of doing all this. There's a better way of working together, living together. There's better kind of technologies that could be here. You know, like what we're seeing is a lot of starseeds are bringing technologies, because they're the ones, a lot of the scientists are starseeds are dreaming. They're not really working it out. They're just dreaming, like Tesla, you know, people like Tesla, just dream it and download it. And I think that's the way that spirit wants it, just downloads it. But if you're not a starseed, like Edison, for example, Edison looked at Tesla and said he was completely non-scientific, because Edison would be laborious, pedantic, 1,000 experiments, where Tesla would just sit there and work it all out in his head, and that was not scientific.
So I guess you could probably say Einstein probably was too, because his were all downloaded. Everything that he did was just like, you know, from his dreams or from his experiences. And I think that it's interesting when you look at the masters of the, you know, in history, as to how they actually downloaded all this, because, you know, it's interesting once you start to download and you know, spirit just starts pouring it out onto you. It's a really cool experience. So except when you're driving.
We're talking about transmissions and downloads. So Steve, is that a form of channeling, or how would you qualify it?
Yeah, it's a form of channeling. So in the early days, I was just receiving it and putting it out. That was me. And I have to work out, what are you trying to tell me? What is it? And it would take days for me to work out. Then it got quicker. But nowadays, it's more two-way conversation, because somebody may say to me, hey, you know, I've got this trouble with energetic boundaries. And I will just sit in meditation, say, energetic boundaries, what do you guys think? And then I'll get an instant, yes, let's do it, or nothing, which means not interested.
Yeah.
And so that's the way it kind of works these days. I'm responding a lot to the world, a lot what I'm seeing, you know, a lot of the BS going on in the world now. I put up 5G protection ones, I put wellness ones up, because at the moment, the big challenge, of course, is what's going on in the world. This situation that's being orchestrated, from what I could see.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you know, to address to that point, I was looking at your website, and on your website you state, we're moving rapidly towards a 5D paradigm of existence, where the old game of dark and light are no longer play out in the same painful way. Now, considering the world is currently in a dark place, in the grip of fear and compliance, can that statement be considered valid?
Yeah. The thing is, the more light that comes in, the more you could say dark, which would be anti-evolutionary, anti-light, anti-human, even anti-human, I think some of it. What they're doing is, because of the light coming in, which came in really strongly from the millennium. So 9/11 was the first reaction of the dark in a major way, I would say, against the light. So 9/11, when I saw 9/11, and I was like, what is that? And then all the narrative came out, and I didn't believe a word of it. I just looked at the first time I heard a kind of narrative that I thought, it's all BS. And millions of people started waking up going, that's not real, you know, or whatever that was is not what the government's saying. So now we've got another situation where dark forces are trying to control the planet, trying to keep it in fear and darkness and control, and they're unleashing, you know, whatever they've unleashed. And by and large, what we're seeing now is a choice, because people are having to choose. Do you choose truth or misinformation? Do you choose fear or love? Where are you going to go? Because this current situation is quite dangerous. You could, in one level, you could say it's dangerous. Another level, you could say, hey, it's a soul just going to go through its evolution. But
Yeah.
I think people who are taking the path of fear are choosing a path of negative alien AI.
Yeah.
That's the timeline I see. I don't see this time. I see this is why there's so much arm twisting. This is why there's so much pressure from everywhere. This is why journalism is dead suddenly. It's because all of the forces controlling the planet, and they are super powerful with all their money and their strings that they can pull. But suddenly we're seeing one narrative, no debate, and you know, this is the way we're going to push everyone down. And of course, people are waking up going, actually, we don't believe your narrative. We don't believe that BS. And so many people are waking up, which is the good news. So we're in this very volatile period of the dark and light kind of clashing in a way. And it's a bit, how can I explain it? When Jesus the Christ made a statement years ago that I didn't understand for many years. He said, I do not come to bring peace, I come to bring the sword. Now, a master of light saying I've come to bring the sword made no sense, but now I understand that if you bring a lot of light on the planet, all of the anti-light forces get stirred up and creates war. You know, and we are in a spiritual war at the moment.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
All we need to do is hold fast, say no to it, and the light is breaking through. A lot of these old structures are breaking, and they're at breaking point already, a lot of them. And it just needs enough people to wake up and go, this is all BS. We're not taking it, and the governments are backing away. In Britain, it's already backed down.
Yeah.
All of the controls have been pulled away, and I think that's going to be happening across the world as the dark forces see the game is not being played.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I answered you, but 5D is something that an individual can attain quite quickly, but the planet takes decades to get there. Because old systems have to break down, old controls have to break down, you know. The industrial military complex, which is super powerful, has to break down. Big pharma has to break down. And these things won't take a decade, it'll take a few decades really to break all that down.
And so
that's what's breaking down.
So how would you, if you say individually, we're able to move to that 5D and it's getting to the place that you can then move to the 6D. It's because as we're ascending, as we're awakening, how can somebody move from that 3D, 4D space to that 5D? And does it take, like, is it meditation? Is it like, what would you say?
Well, at one level, the soul's journey has already been chosen before this lifetime. So it's like a soul can't just consciously say, I'm going to be going to 5D, because if that's not their evolutionary journey, they're not going to be interested. They're going to go, it's all a load of BS. We're not going there. What are you talking? Angels, what are you talking about? Ascension, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And that's why you can speak to your mother or your father till you're blue in the face. If their soul is not, if they're not on that trajectory, they will never accept it in their mind. They cannot accept it. The mind can accept it. Yeah. But for a starseed who's waking up, they go from 3D. 3D is a place of hard knocks. It's a place of us versus them. It's the world around us. You know, it's what we read in the newspapers. It's blame, it's judgment, it's all of that. It's the haves and the have-nots. 4D is a place where we start embracing, I create my own reality 100%, my personal reality. Yeah. And we start experimenting. So in 4D, I started experimenting with mantras, meditation, silence, all various energy paths, you know, the secret, vision boarding. It's the whole lot. Like, hey, energy works. We can do stuff and we can create stuff. And when I was doing my 4D experience, I was really pushing the universe, like, wow, if this is real, then let's see if that works or that works or that works. And I was really pushing the boat because I dived into shamanism, I dived into Wicca, you know, for 10 years, the path of magic. I wanted to see, you know, and Wicca is an Anglo-Saxon word which means to bend reality. And I wanted to see how far can reality be bent. You know? In 5D, we kind of give up all of that. We don't need to do all of that. I don't do all that stuff anymore. It's only about vibration, keeping our vibration high. So meditation, silence, friends, tea, all of these things to keep our vibration high. It's a daily practice of so every morning, every evening, and throughout the day, me and my partner, we sit down, we invite light into energy fields, we release all lower energies, and it's a constant practice. Yeah. And what I find is just maintaining that practice in 5D, miracles happen.
Yeah, naturally.
For me, a miracle is really something that you can't explain in 3D, but in 5D, it's like, and so what? Next. Yeah. Of course it happens. These things happen. Miracles happen all the time.
And this is what they state in A Course in Miracles in the text, that miracles are just a normal way of being. It's what
there
we
no
consider
order of miracles.
No, there's not. And the way that we perceive them is that from the 3D experience. It's like, oh wow, unless if a miracle happens, then such and such will happen. But it's like, it's just a natural way of being. Source is there to provide us with everything that we desire, but we've got to believe it. We've got to have the faith in it, and know that our true state is that of love and not of fear. And once we get wrapped up in that fear, it kind of blocks. So
yeah, fear is a great blocking force. Fear is the tool of the dark, really. Once we're in fear, there is no manifestation.
No.
And there's fear, but there's also desperation and hopelessness. These energy states mean nothing can be manifested. Mm-hmm. So and a lot of religion is, I'm desperate. I'm on my knees, God, give me a miracle. And there is no miracle there because you're not going to get one.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, occasionally you might get one, which is through the power of group. A group intention might give you something. But basically, you're on your knees begging. You're not connecting to source, you're begging source. And you can't, begging it means I'm here and you're up there. And that separation just doesn't allow miracles.
And I find one thing that really connects me with source is a lot of mirror work. And this is something that I find to be a really great technique, because if you can look into your own soul, if you can look into the eyes of your own soul, then you can really connect with your higher self and that of source on a much deeper level. And so, I always recommend, just first thing in the morning, I do my meditation while I'm still in that sleepy state. My subconscious is at full force. And then I get up and do my mirror work. And that puts me in a high vibration for the rest of the day. And as long as you don't let yourself go down that fear or desperation, or like you said, any of those paths, then you're pretty good for the rest of the day.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're in really great training now for this, because the whole world's in fear, or has been in fear. I hope a lot of people are loosening the grip. And so Starseeds, who are kind of going, we're not paying attention. I've done enough of my own personal work not to buy into all this BS, all the fear in the media, or the family fear. I listen to it. And like, aren't you tired of these old stories yet? They're so boring and so full of suffering. And also, don't you realize the stories you keep telling yourself are the ones that keep manifesting? You go, why am I having such a terrible life? But they're not going to listen. My grandkids are listening to me now.
Oh, awesome.
They're into crystals and into all kinds of, Granddad, you've got 140,000 people on your YouTube channel. That's so cool. They're all into this.
How old are your grandkids? How old are they?
12, 11, 3.5, and 6 months. And the 6 months is a little crystal child. She sits there smiling all day long.
Yeah. I have a 6-year-old cat, and she's already in 5D.
Yeah.
Just so really to summarize, moving to 5D is when you move into complete alignment with universal eternal laws of unconditional love and oneness, and like
there's no separation.
No longer any of the BS. Is it possible, Steve, to achieve 5D and still be in form in a body, or do you have to leave your body to achieve 5D?
No, you can be in 5D in a body, but 6D is beyond the body. I don't think we can tolerate, a body can't tolerate 6D in a body. that's where we kind of leave the physical body. But we can certainly manage 5D and levels of 5D in a physical body, that's for sure. But the body's becoming more ethereal. The body's becoming more crystalline. The body's becoming, the DNA is shifting. It's moving from carbon-based to crystalline-based, which means, you know, I'm finding that my body feels lighter and my diet is changing. I can't tolerate what I used to be able to eat. I can't eat as much as I used to eat. I'm drawn to nature and sunlight, and I can't go to big cities. I think I did fly to New York City. I had to get out as quickly as possible. You know, I couldn't tolerate all of that energy anymore. Whereas I lived in London for a long time. So the body is changing, and as the body changes, sleep changes, our whole lifestyle changes. I have to be by the sea now. I have to sit by 30 seconds from the sea. I need it for my, or mountains. Shasta would be also fantastic. I love Shasta.
I've got to get across to Shasta at some point.
Oh, it's amazing.
Because I know they have some incredible tours over there that you can go on, and yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah, there's something magical about that mountain. I've been to other places like Sedona and these places, but Shasta has a magic to it, which in 2016, I was coming out my dark night, and that propelled me out. That was like, hey, the energy of the mountain was so beautiful. And there's lots of different energies there. I think Michael, you know, the Lemurians underneath Telos, there's all these kind of UFO, weird cloud structures above, and there's the Native Americans there. So it's just something. I think if I was to live in America anywhere, I'd probably live in Shasta.
So, you know, I have to ask, we've been talking so much about, you know, starseeds and beings from different galaxies interested in the world. I've talked to other channels, other ascended teachers. I've interviewed them on my shows. And it's been said that right now, with the place the Earth is in, there are actually thousands of ships from other galaxies hovering around Earth because they're so invested in this place becoming in 5D. I mean, so is that true? Do you understand that to be true?
Yeah, I have put out transmissions of Palladian ships around the planet. I connected with them. There are other ones as well. There is an old quarantine control fence which the Dark put up years ago, and that's being broken through like Swiss cheese. Some channels say it's been broken into. So it was very hard for light beings to come here, but now starseeds are incarnating. There's ships around. There's beings of the inner Earth interested. It's almost like this Earth has become a center of intense focus, because as the Earth shifts, apparently, and I don't really understand completely why, but that shift helps other shifts going on around the universe. And I don't know why. I mean, I have heard the Palladians say that they're coming back now because we're at this crossroads of timelines, and some of those timelines lead to 5D ascension, and some of them lead to tyranny.
Yeah.
You know, where we're going is all of this AI and government and control elite they're pushing the planet towards tyranny. And so these are the timelines, and starseeds are going to go to the ascension timeline with all the help from the universe around. There's a lot of souls that want to experience. Yeah. They want to experience that, and that's their journey.
And I think that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the new Earth. We're talking about those that are actually going to choose the path of the ascension, and those that are going to decide that they're going to remain in the world that we're in, and it's going to continue going down the path that it's going down at the moment. And so I was watching what's her name that talks all about the new Earth. She passed away last year. Can't remember her name. But
Dolores Cannon?
Yes, Dolores Cannon. And she was talking about the new Earth. Right. And 2022 was supposed to be the year that there's going to be more awakening. There's going to be a lot more ascension. We're going to start to realize, and I think this whole situation that we're in is starting to open people's eyes, and I think we are starting to ascend on a greater level. And I think next year in 2023 is going to be a real year of healing. I think we're going to see a lot of, so
Well, I did meet Dolores Cannon 2 or 3 times in London, and it's just like having your grandmother sit in the corner talk about aliens. It's the most bizarre. I'm like, you don't look like you should be talking about this stuff. You know?
But she's fascinating.
She dressed up like my grandmother. You know, she was just like that. And I think her daughter's taking over now.
Okay.
But from what I can understand is the way to understand it is spring is coming.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know which day spring exactly will come. We can't predict the day, but we can say generally the light is coming, spring is coming, winter is over. But, you know, the weather on a day-to-day, you know, what's going to happen. This year seems to be more light to me than last year. Last year felt dense and heavy, and like the dark was taking over. And the people were losing hope and locked in their homes. This year, the light is breaking through. You know, you've got the truckers in Canada, and there's the UK's backing off, and there's all kinds of legal cases coming out, which is pushing back the dark, you know. And so I think by next year, the light will push the dark back. I think this year it's kind of light and dark playing out, but you can see they're both playing out. It's a bit equal at the moment, but by next year, I'm thinking the light will have, I'm hoping Big Pharma will collapse, because I think they're overinflated with money and completely out of integrity. They have no integrity at all. They're completely aligned with dark forces, and people should see that, really. And I think we might even start seeing people, you know, getting reactions to this toxic solution.
Yeah.
We're already seeing it, that's being hidden, but more and more they can't hide it, and they'll see, oh my God, what have we done to the population?
So if you had one message that you wanted to give our listeners that will kind of give them that sense of peace, I suppose, that sense of knowing that, you know, everything's going to be okay, and, you know, we choose what we tend to focus on, whether that's to do with vaccinations, whether that's to do with all of the craziness that's going on in the world. I don't watch the news for that purpose, because I don't want to know anything that's going on. In fact, my friends from the States, they tend to tell me what's going on in Australia more than I know.
Right. Right.
Oh, no. I don't want to know any of that, because I have my own vision of what the world is. And so if you had one message, what would that be, Steve?
Switch off the news, go within, go walk in wild nature, hang out with lovely people, go to beautiful cafes, surround yourself with beautiful energy, keep your vibration high, and participate in the world also. There are things where we need to say no, and we need to have a voice, but don't fight the dark.
No, because it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Don't fight the dark. Go beyond the dark. They're becoming super irrelevant. And that's just their path, really. But yeah, don't worry about the world. The dark are helping to wake people up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that's come out of this, is that there are much more awakened people. Families are starting to get closer or split up, like depending on where that path is supposed to go. There's lots of stuff happening in the world today, but if you can just push through that fear and just realize that there is light at the end of the tunnel, then I think that we'll be okay as humans. So
just as a reminder, folks, we are talking to Steve Nobel, purveyor of the Soul Matrix. This is the man right here. Just amazing stuff. Steve, let's find out about your books, The Spiritual Entrepreneur, and you have other books. Can you tell us, how did you come up with this idea of spiritual entrepreneur? It's almost like a LinkedIn for spiritual people.
That would be cool.
I write it for me, because I think, well, I've been in business for years. And how do I do it? I don't know. Let's write it all down. So I just wrote it all down. It's a number of sections. The first section is for those at the beginning of their journey. The second section is getting through resistance, because resistance is not having your own business, and stepping out the spiritual closet creates resistance. You know? It's not unusual. It's how to get through resistance. It's how to align with a new work ethic. It's how to balance your masculine and feminine energies, which is really important, because most business books I read were either super yang, elbow the competition out of the way, or super yin, put a finger up and ask the angels to help you, and let's pray that they are there, you know. And I think, so I wanted to balance these two. And the last section is on raising the vibration of your business. So it's written like that. And when I read it, I go, oh yeah, that's how I do it. I didn't know. I had to write it down so I knew. And my previous book is Personal Transitions. That's my experience of the dark night of the soul. And I interviewed about 50 people going through their own dark night of the soul. It wasn't just my journey. So I wanted to see, what is this awakening going through a dark night thing? And then I've written The Prosperity Game, which is about money. I wrote that in 2004. And then I wrote Free in the Spirit 20 years ago, which I'm reprinting. They're all being reprinted on Amazon, so you can get them all on Kindle if you want. It's quite fun reprinting and being I've got my own publishing company now, Soul Matrix Publishing, which is nice to have your own publishing company.
Oh, nice.
I thought, why not? I want a publishing company.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm doing it.
And so we can get all of your books on Amazon. They're all available there at the moment. It's really cool once you go from the Kindle version to the printed, because I know I'm actually a naturopath. I started off as a naturopath, and I wrote 8 books that I published on Amazon. And going from the Kindle and then going into print, it was really cool because you can get them sent to you and you've got your own library of your books. And it's pretty cool. So
I get a check every month from them,
which
is nice. It's nice having these little channels of abundance. I get money from YouTube because I did start monetizing when YouTube said, well, if you don't, we're going to monetize it for you. I thought, oh, all right. So at least I can choose which ones I monetize. So I get insight time. I get all these little pops of abundance, which is kind of nice. I can go and have tea.
That's really cool.
On YouTube.
That's really cool. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? You get a bit from here and a bit from there, and you put out all your creativity into the world, and it'll just naturally come to you. So
the money drops in and the grandchildren come around and say, we want this, granddad, and it all goes out, it all flows out.
It makes sense to me that if you move into the 5D realm, that prosperity would automatically come to you because you're moving into the realm of miracles, and it would be natural for prosperity to flow to you. So that's why you would write a book about money and prosperity. Yeah,
it flows in unusual ways. Someone gave me $1,000 donation.
Nice.
Like, thank you. I emailed them saying, hey, did you mean to do that? And they did. And then I got an award from America, humanitarian award, but they sent me $1,000. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine.
Yeah.
More money comes in. That's all right. Grandchildren will be happy.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, I've got a feeling, Steve, that you spoil those grandkids.
Oh, yeah. I've given them so many crystals and so many. Yeah, I am funding their university, their future. I've given money for their university and all of that. And it's quite nice to leave them that legacy that they can have a drink on granddad when I'm gone or something.
Well, I've got an 18 and a 20-year-old, so give them
another. You look too young to have children later.
Oh, thank you. No, so probably in 5 or 10 years, I'll probably be in the same situation. So, and I've always said I'll probably spoil the grandkids as well. It's just part of the.
I'm seeing them all tomorrow. They're coming to visit the sea tomorrow. It's so nice, and they're all looking forward to it. And I take them out for dinner, and they'll go down. In Brighton, there's a place called the Lanes, which is full of independent shops, and of course that means, whoa, granddad, look at this shop and this shop and this shop.
That's fun.
Yeah,
that's fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
If people want to get a hold of you, I usually ask, what's your website's URL, but it's right there over your shoulder. The SoulMatrix.com.
SoulMatrix.com. Yeah.
So
and on YouTube, you find me, Steve Nobel.
If they come to your website, can they set up personal sessions with you? You have events, online events, etc.
Yeah, I had an event last night, 80 people. I'm always doing webinars, online courses. I do sessions. I'm booked up to May. But I've also got my own Facebook on my website, so you can join a social media for Starseeds if you want to. And it's kind of like the model of Facebook. It's not as whizzy because I haven't got $1 billion to invest in it, but you can set up groups and you can chat and direct message people. And so it's about 10,000 people on there. I thought so. I'm funding that because that's a nice little gift to give people, a place they can go and have fun. I'm Big Brother.
I think I might have to go there. Because I think that's going to be a fun place to be.
Yeah, come and sign up. You can pull your podcasts in there. You can do whatever you like.
Sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. Well, we have had an absolutely awesome time with you, Steve. We've really enjoyed our time talking to you about star seeds and light workers and everything else we've spoken about. And I know that our listeners would have gotten a massive value from you. So I'm looking forward to going and grabbing all your books and really digging a lot deeper and definitely joining your Facebook group. Your Facebook
come and
page.
join it's called Our Social Matrix.
Our Social Matrix. Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Well,
Come and hang out with nice people. And nobody puts horrible posts. It's all pretty nice. They're all nice posts. So.
Excellent. Unlike Facebook.
Unlike Facebook. Evil.
Thank you so much for being on your spiritual shift today. It's been a real honor. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Jennifer.
Okay. Bye-bye.